As caregivers, our story holds healing power, bridging connection, inspiring hope, and offering comfort to both the narrator and the listener. With this vision of creating a safe space for caregivers to share their stories and experience, we warmly welcome you to Conversation with Gentle Warrior, Warrior Wisdom, brought to you by Caregiver Sathi. I'm your host, Dona Patra, and I'm delighted to welcome our guest for this episode, Linda Baptista, a coach, an organization development consultant, and a primary caregiver to her husband, Basant. Hello, Linda. How are you?
Hi, Donna. I'm good. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm great. Thank you so much. Would you like to introduce yourself to our viewers?
Sure. So, hi everyone. I'm Linda Baptista. I'm born and brought up in Mumbai, currently located out of Ahmedabad, just relocated for my husband's rehab therapy. And I've been an organization development consultant for the last 7 years of my 22 years of corporate career. I coach people, I conduct corporate trainings, and I specialize in diversity, inclusion, and belonging.
Great. So, welcome, Linda. And so, we would start with how did your journey as a caregiver start?
Sure. So, Donna, this takes me back to the day when my husband Vasant, on one Sunday, which was the 17th of November 2019, he set out for his 200 kilometers cycle ride from Mumbai to Charoti, which was organized by Audax India Randoniers. They usually organize a lot of cycling events for professional cyclists. And Vasant was very regular with, his weekend trips, and also daily he would cycle from home to work. So I wake up early in the morning and, ask him if he's had his breakfast and say goodbye to him. He's all dressed with his cycling gear and helmet. And he leaves for his ride, and around, that's way early in the morning at 6 a.m. or so. And around 1 p.m., I get a call saying that, someone related to you has kind of crashed somewhere near Vasai and is fallen on the road, and we don't know what happened and things like that. So of course there was a bit of panic, and I tried to get in touch with the organizers of the cycling event. Unfortunately, the ride in charge was different from the name updated and contact number updated on the website. So I spent some time struggling, to get in touch with the organizers, and that didn't work out. I ended up, messaging the person on their Instagram handle, and then I recall that I have family in Vasai, so I contacted my cousins, and my cousin brothers were, kind enough to drop whatever they were doing and rush to help Vasant. And in the time being, I had to also get from Manduk to Vasai, so I contacted my friends and our friends, and they were very helpful, and they immediately pulled out their car, and we rode to Vasai. Now all of this took a lot of time, and by the time we got to Vasant, who was in an accident hospital, it was already a bit late. He couldn't speak. He knew I was there, and he couldn't speak, and he had to they kept waking him up every time because he was losing consciousness. And one of my friends, Deepa, she said that we have to take him to a hospital that is better equipped. Since it was Sunday, they didn't have a CT machine. So we rushed him in an ambulance to Fortis. By that time, it was already 6 p.m. And we lost quite a few hours because of all of this. And, then we realized that he has suffered a brain stroke. And that came as a shock to all of us because he's the most fit person we know. He's always been very lean. He's always been very active. So that's who Vasant has been for all of us. And it was very surprising for us that somebody who we regard as so healthy and fit with no pre-existing conditions can suffer something like a brain stroke. And, that's when my journey as a caregiver began, because it was a very massive stroke. And I knew that there was a tough road ahead. So yeah, that's how it all ensued. Yeah.
How is your husband doing now, Linda?
Compared to the way he was, Donna, he has made tremendous progress. So, like when he came back home, he was brought in an ambulance and he was on a hospital bed. And we had to get a hospital bed in the house, and we had to keep a nurse in the day and a nurse in the night. And his entire right side was paralyzed since the communication center in his brain was impacted. He could not speak at all initially. So now he does speak words. He has something called aphasia, which is where you know the words that you want to say, but you have trouble finding the words. This usually happens after a brain stroke or a brain injury. So he's able to communicate, he has adapted, he uses a lot of signs and gestures, and most of us, family, friends, we understand what he's meaning to say most of the time, which is fantastic. He's very independent, so he can walk. He has also started cycling on a tandem cycle. So he also rode from Mumbai to Mangalore, with a group of our cycling friends, with cycling coach Anthony cycling in front of him and he cycling as a pillion behind. So he managed to do all of that. And even though we are his friends, we didn't think that he would do that. But he proved us wrong and he did the ride. And of course, at the end of it, he was very tired. And we had to take a flight back home as against the train ticket that we had booked. But it was all good and he was so happy while he was cycling. So he's come a long way in the last 4 years, Donna. So that's been an incredible journey that I have had the honor to witness.
That's really nice to hear. So, Linda, as you said that this was something which you did not foresee. I mean, you were not prepared to become a caregiver overnight, so it just happened. So, what were your thoughts and your feelings when you realized that you have to be a primary caregiver for your husband?
Yeah, I think, one was it was shocking when we realized that something serious had happened to Vasant. What was even more shocking was the fact that the doctors said they did not know what caused the stroke. So that was that to deal with not knowing was very difficult for me because I felt like even though whatever had happened, if I knew what caused it, I could prevent it from happening again. So I felt like that control, would be in my hands. And the doctor saying that they didn't know what caused it really threw me off, and I was quite devastated. So my sister Yvonne and of course all our family was there, and I remember breaking down and crying with her, and it really hit home the grief basically that night. And then on, I realized that, going forward, it all has to be about action. And I have to just throw myself into action because there was a lot to be done. And he was not out of the woods yet. So we had to see him through that entire journey. And I had to be strong and level headed. So I just swung into action. And ever since then, I think I've not stopped being in action. So action has been my go-to mechanism to deal with all of this, and it has worked beautifully for me at least. So that's something that was going on in my mind. I was prepared for what is to come. I knew I would have to sacrifice and let go of certain dreams. I knew certain relationships would go on hold because I would not have the time to see people invest in them. So I was mentally prepared, of course, I didn't know what to expect in terms of Basant's recovery. So that's a space where my friends, I remember my friend Gautam, my mother, people like these telling me that things will be okay and he will get better. So I think these are the people who reinforced my faith, and I wasn't sure what to expect in terms of recovery, but I was very focused on what I had to do in the journey. Yeah.
Like I'm sure, like you said that all these things really took a toll on everything that was happening around you, say your work and your relationship with others and everything. So, would you like to share with us some challenges or frustrations that you had while you were a caregiver?
Sure. So I remember being in the hospital, and my friend and colleague Gautam was there, and I remember telling him that I have these trainings scheduled, and I will not be able to be mentally present, even though there were a lot of people who were, helping, and they were offering to be in the hospital with Vasant. I felt like I would not be able to mentally focus and do a, decent job with those trainings. And I asked him, if he would be happy to take it on from me. And he stepped in, and I'm grateful for that. But there on, I knew that it's going to be a while, until I get back to work, because my presence of mind is really important for the work that I do. So, and I didn't want to do, a half-baked job ever. Uh, I think my credibility really matters to me in the professional space. So I decided to, scale back. Vasan needed attention, even though we had help. There were a lot of things that had to be figured out, and I was the one figuring them out most of the time with help from family and friends. So, and then also Donna, COVID happened in 3 months after his stroke. So lockdown happened. Vasant and I went to live with my mother and my sister throughout the lockdown. So there was no work for consultants and things like that. So I started to freelance. I just decided to do something that kept me engaged. I took to social media, and I started, designing social media posts, helping other small businesses get off their feet. So I did things like that, more from a point of view of keeping myself mentally occupied and learning a new skill, and doing whatever I can until, the lockdown tides down. And once things started getting better in terms of the market and lockdown, I slowly started taking up again assignments and work. Last year, I did a retainer contract with a pharmaceutical company working on their diversity and inclusion strategy, among other things. And I was able to do that full time for 9 months, and I was able to travel, outside of Mumbai, because we also shifted on rent to be closer to my mother and sister, so that Vasant, had some family around while I traveled. So I was able to travel and really do a good job, and I feel quite proud about that. So I was able to pick things up in time. But yes, for the first 1 or 2 years, I had to let go and say that, this is something I need to completely focus on, Vasant's recovery. And when the time is right, I will start looking at my professional career again. So, yes.
So, like, what is the thing that you learned the most, or thing that was most important learning for you in your entire caregiving, being a caregiver, and how did you evolve?
Hmm. So, Donna, I'm going to say some things which may not be very popular. So, I know that for a lot of people, faith gets them through such tough times. And I think what helped me is to understand that it's in my hands, and take the reins and really go and do things myself rather than hoping and wishing and, things like that. Of course, I'm sure a lot of prayers and thoughts and positive vibes have helped us. I do not deny that, because a lot of people did pray for Vasant, and, I'm sure that has helped us somewhere. That's one thing. Another thing is that, while I may have not entirely processed my grief even in the last 4 years, I think being in action mode has helped me, has helped Vasant. I've been able to help Vasant, and that has been a kind of an empowering situation I've been able to put myself in, given the kind of constraints that we've had. I think making the right financial choices and decisions in the past has helped us now, because once you've had a stroke, from there on, it depends on, how much are you able to financially invest in recovery therapy and things like that. So I continue to make good financial decisions, and I'm proud of the fact that we've not had to depend on anybody else financially. We've not had to borrow. We've not had to seek financial assistance at all, and we're still doing quite well. And he's still, doing the best that he possibly can in his recovery. So that's great as well. The last thing that I've learned is that, there's a popular advertisement, I think it's Times of India ad, where a small boy tries to move a big tree that's blocking traffic. And there's a lot of chaos around, no one's doing anything. So I think even with caregiving and something like this happening to someone, it's like that. Either the person who is suffering or the caregiver, one person has to really just show that belief that, I want to do something here, and everyone comes in to help. So while I'm the one on this interview with you, a lot of credit to Vasant because he's never given up. And I think that has been very inspiring for me. It's been a source of my strength. It's been very inspiring for others as well. And everybody wants to see him win, So I think that's really important.
It's really nice, Linda. So, Linda, with all, taking care of your husband and managing your finances and everything, with all of this extra work, how did you manage, your responsibility towards your work, your family, and even for yourself, right? Like even your self-care is goes for a toss when we are taking care for somebody else all the time. So how did you manage all that?
Yeah, so caregivers are really great at taking care of someone else, but really suck at taking care of themselves. So I did not take care of myself at all. And I also then, got diagnosed with thyroid imbalance and things like that. And we both went on to a whole food plant-based diet. We converted to veganism. It helped Vasant with his energy levels, and it helped me, get out of this thyroid mess without going onto a tablet for the rest of my life. So yeah, I learned it the hard way. I ignored my health. Some days I think just being able to take a shower was an achievement. So beyond that, I didn't expect anything more. Um, but yeah, eventually things catch up with you, the stress catches up with you, and then you see the red flags for yourself, and you realize that if I want to be dependable, then I have to be stronger physically as well. So that's when, I started looking at myself as a part of this journey. And sometimes some appointments for doctors, it would be both Vasant and me going for the appointment because I had issues to be discussed too. So I started including myself, in the care part of it. And sometimes I decided that the best thing for me to do is to do nothing. And that really helped, while others kept advising me that you should exercise, you should go out. And sometimes it gets to you so much that you can't relate to going out and having fun or going out for a party or going out for a dinner or a social gathering. You just can't relate to any of those things anymore. So that's not fun for you anymore. Your perception of life really changes. So I realized that I will do what makes sense for me. That's staying at home and doing nothing or just taking time out for myself. Those are the things that I started to prioritize. So I'm not good at taking care of myself even now, but I'm trying to be better at it. And it's a learning journey. And I'm seeking inspiration from Vasant actually because he's very good. He's very disciplined with his routine. So I'm trying to also be disciplined with my routine. Yeah, so so yeah, we're really not good at taking care of ourselves.
Yeah. So Linda, you did tell that you did not have that time to grieve. You did not have that grieving period. So do you think that somewhere that also affected your health? Because we all need to vent out our emotion at some point of time, and when it is all bottled up, it is at some point it just explodes. So do you think that did take a toll on your health?
I think it did, because anyway, you're always, mentally thinking and planning and figuring out what to do, what's the best way forward. And that's at a thought level. At a heart level, you are also in pain, right? Many times I I had this thought that, rather than being the person who has to witness this, it would have been better if this had happened to me. And maybe I would be able to deal with that better than, being here and watching what's going on with my husband, right? So it's almost like a part of you is hurting, and so are you. So that's very difficult, and because I also needed to be strong for my husband, and I think I was also, being an anchor to both our families, because it's been very difficult for our families as well. Someone had to just stay strong, and my brother-in-law has been staying strong as well. So we've been taking those roles on, but I think somewhere in doing all of that, our own grief has not been processed, and we've not found the space for it. So it does creep up, when you're watching a sad movie, or even a happy movie. I do now get teary-eyed. I do get very emotional, at different situations. So yes, it's brought in a lot of sensitivity in me. But yes, I think this will continue, and there'll be pockets of opportunity when I can grieve, which I will take and continue this way. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we all should, we all find it very difficult to channelize our emotion. Like, I normally say that we Indians have a way of channelizing stress is, just get angry. We just get angry because we don't want to cry, or we don't want to show that, we are in stress right now or in
Yeah.
pain. So yeah, I also feel it is really important for us to, bring our tears out. And if I want to cry today in grief, I should do that.
Yeah.
So, Linda, you said that your friend Gautam was there along with you when you were dealing. So, uh, with so much pain and the entire process. So was it difficult for you to ask for help to your friends? And apart from Gautam, was there any other friend who helped you in the journey?
So I think it's mainly been Gotham, my sister Yvonne, my mom, my brother-in-law, my friend Deepa. These have been the people who I've mostly talked with. I have a mentor in ISABS. ISABS is Indian Society of Applied Behavioral Science, Sharad. So I've also sought counsel from him from time to time. I have been told that I should, find someone professional to talk to, but I have not, because I never felt comfortable. It's a very private space. Um, and I never felt comfortable talking to somebody professional. I also kind of knew what is it that I would hear from them. And I didn't want to be told something that I already know. Um, the thing is that we know things, but then we do them only when we feel ready for it. So I wanted to take my own path, and even though it seemed very difficult, I wanted to anyway go on that path. So there have been these handful of people who I've turned to, and I've kept it to this private circle. I kind of feel proud that today I'm sharing this with you and many others, because, at the time that all this was happening, I started looking online. I used to look at Facebook groups that were around stroke patients and learn from there. I found a video of Kumud, and I related to that, and she also came on one of the videos that you all had created and shared her journey. And I could resonate with what she had gone through in her life. And I knew that this is a very niche sect of people who know, what this reality is. This is not the mainstream reality that a lot of people are aware of. Hence, I did not want to seek advice from anyone or anyone. I found comfort in a few people, and I think that really helped me. I think more than any advice, it's just having the space to grieve, to process your grief, to cry, to share your fears, to share your anxiety, and just think out loud. So that's the space that these few people have been able to hold for me. I have a lot of gratitude for them. But maybe, for somebody, professional help would be a better thing. But for me, I did not feel that way. Yeah.
So, did you find it difficult to open up to your parents or your sister, or like you were comfortable enough to share whatever you were feeling or going through with them?
Well, I had to filter out some parts because, I think everyone was anxious, everyone was worried, and I did not want to uh, add to that. So that's something that I had to be mindful of. Uh, Yeah, I think I knew I was very intense at the time, and not many people would handle that. So mostly I dealt with these moments that I was having by myself, and sometimes I would reach out to people. But mostly I just decided to deal with it by myself because I did not believe that anyone could handle my intensity. So yeah, that's about it. And of course, sometimes when I felt it appropriate, or if there was some decision to be made or something to be discussed, then I would talk about it with Vasant, and he would also partner in that dialogue. So, yeah.
Okay. So, Linda, with so many things, happening around you, and, like we just, when you just suddenly become a caregiver, you are in like a spotlight to take a lot of decisions medically, financially, which maybe you might not be ready to take. So, what made you confident and, to take this decision and feel at control, even though you were going through so much?
Yeah, so Donna, that's a very good question, and I haven't thought about it until now. But now that you're asking me this, I don't know if it's my personality or the way my mom and dad brought me up, but I've always been very independent, and I've been fiercely independent actually, and I've always valued that independence, in all aspects of life. And even when this happened, I did not want to be like a victim or someone that people should feel sorry for. And I wanted for me and Vasant to continue to enjoy that independence, and both of us, for us to feel, that way in our lives going forward as well. So I think that is like second nature to me. So I took decisions in a manner that what is it that I can do that can make this sustainable, whatever it may be, whatever practices we were going ahead with, whatever support we were getting. I always question that, is this sustainable? What about this tomorrow? Will this become like a crutch for us? Is it okay to take help? Is this really asking too much of the other person? Do we need this help? Sometimes people have offered help and we have not needed it. So we have thanked the person and politely declined. So I think that has been at the core, just wanting to be independent, and of course, wanting Vasant to get better and do the best that I can for him, because I also feel that if it were me, he would do the same for me. You know, um, and yeah, I mean, that's how I would want to be treated. So yeah.
So, Linda, you did tell me that you did not have a self-care routine for yourself initially, and
Yeah.
you really sucked at taking care of yourself. So, yeah, but right now you do have a self-care routine, right? And like, how do you ensure that you're following it?
Yeah, so one thing I figured out is, I need flexibility in my professional life. So I have gone back to being an independent consultant, even though it was very exciting working with an organization full time. And, I had quite a few achievements there, which I feel good about. But I realize that flexibility is important for me, and for me to be there for Vasant too. So ensuring that I have a professional career which provides me that is one thing, one decision that I've taken. Another is that I know that I may not, dress up and go to a gym or a yoga class or something like that. And so I have taken a membership of an online yoga group. So, there are like as many as 6 yoga slots in a day, and I can join whichever works for my schedule. So, flexibility there too. So, I manage that. And I did get into the habit of binge eating as a way of managing stress, which also is not healthy. So, I have started to be more mindful about what I eat, and consuming more natural food like fruits and things and salads and things like that. So that's another thing that I do. And of late, I've also been spending more time with myself, which I find very helpful. I was very fond of pottery. I do hand building pottery. I like to work with clay. So we have shifted to another city, for Vasant's rehab, and I'm looking for spaces where I can engage with clay again. And I hope to continue on some of my creative pursuits. So I think all in all, these practices are helping me. Yeah.
That's really nice, Linda. So, Linda, would you like to share some joyful moments that you had with your husband while being his caregiver?
Yes, so he has a very quirky sense of humor. So there have been many times that, he has made me laugh, and many jokes that he has cracked without even, having a functional speech. And I think no marriage is perfect. So we also had our ups and downs. And, I think this whole journey has brought us even closer together. So I feel that the intimacy we now share. Earlier, I remember he introvert and he doesn't speak much, before the stroke. So I used to keep nagging him that you need to talk, we need to communicate and things like that. And now, even though he can't find the words, I know what he wants to say. I know what he's thinking most of the time, which is good and also not good because then he doesn't have to say much. So that's something that has come about. While we were going through this madness of having a hospital bed in the house and nurses and our family over, I remember, one night he just turned to me and he just tapped me on my back, and it kind of felt like he's saying that it's going to be okay. Yeah. So I turned and I said, "Are you saying it's going to be okay?" And he said, "Yes." So for him to be in the condition that he was and still signal to me that it's going to be okay was a huge validation for me and a huge reassurance. Also, we've had so many therapists and so many people help out. And Anthony, who's a cycling coach, has done a lot to get him back on the cycle. And the first time I saw him go on a cycle and how he just naturally took to it, it felt like nothing has happened. Like if I was someone who was just a stranger who didn't know this person, I would feel like, oh, he's just cycling. So it felt like nothing has happened. So that was also very reassuring to see that how he's just taken to it so naturally. He was able to do the ride from Mumbai to Bangalore. So that also felt, just seeing him so happy there made me very happy too. And he was having the time of his life. So these have been some of those joyous moments. And even right now, just me talking to you, I did not think that one day I would be doing this. There would ever be a day when I would be doing this. I would feel sane enough to come onto a video call and share my experience in a composed manner. So just the way that this is happening also is quite joyful. So these are all, it's not, we feel that it's so difficult, but there's so much of joy in these moments as well. And it's difficult to explain. It's not the regular stuff, but it's really special.
Thank you so much, Linda. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. And I might say you are not just a caregiver to Vasant. Vasant is also a caregiver to you because the way he's assuring you and he's making sure that you are fine and you are not stressed. So yeah, that I think not a lot of people do that to their caregivers. So I would say he is also a caregiver to you. And yeah, thank you so much for sharing your story. And I really hope that this episode help a lot of people who are going through the same journey, help them navigate it better. And last but not the least, we would want you to share some warrior wisdom with our members. So, any words of wisdom you want to share with the caregivers?
Well, I don't know how, other caregivers feel because I've not interacted much, but I know one thing that I have found a little frustrating is that people coming up to me and saying, you're doing a fantastic job and you're a great person and things like that. And I wonder, and I feel very confused that what exactly are they talking about. So I feel like it's not a choice, I mean, it's not like I had a choice. That's one of the things. And the other thing is that it's something that comes naturally to us, and if it did not, we would not be doing it. So I don't feel it's something out of the world or so special. I know it's difficult, but yeah, I mean, we are caregivers, and of course, our natural tendency is to take care of others. But there's also a battle of, trying and putting yourself first whenever possible. So I think that balance we are always struggling to strike. So I think the advice is for the non-caregivers that when you meet a caregiver, just acknowledge the person and reach out with love. That's the only thing. I don't think we need appreciation or any medal or anything. But I think just acknowledge the person and reach out with love, and I think that should be enough. So, yeah.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you so much for your time. It was really nice talking to you.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you for the opportunity to do this. Really appreciate it.